What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/Yamai the Butthole. If you'd like to skip that initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. As you always know, it truly helps out our channel, and I cannot express that enough. Thank you so much, and let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. This story comes from a throwaway account. Would I be the arsehole if I got my little sister's college scholarship revoked? I, 21 male, have been an avid writer my entire life. I've written 3 full-length novels that I'm almost perpetually reworking, and a book of short stories, all set within the same universe. I've been working on this universe and the characters within it since I was 13, and it's all very personal to me. This week, I found out that my younger sister, 17 female, won a massive scholarship by submitting one of my short stories. I would have been upset regardless of which story she had taken, but she happened to pick one based around my experience feeling othered because of my autism. My sister is not autistic and has actually bullied me for my autistic traits in the past, so the fact that this was a story she picked to steal from me almost feels like an attack. In addition to submitting the story, she also had to write about what inspired her to write the piece, and even thinking about what she must have made up makes my blood boil. My parents are currently struggling for money, and this scholarship would pay for almost her entire first year. Both my parents know what my sister did, and they have both asked me to just let it slide because my sister having this scholarship is helping out our family a lot. They were also worried that the school my sister has been accepted to might find out and rescind her admission. They're both using the excuse that she is just a little girl who made a dumb mistake, and that it would be petty and over the top for me, an adult man, to hurt her future over it. I don't want to hurt my parents financially. I don't really want to hurt my sister, but I don't want her to have this scholarship. I have all the proof that she is not the real author of the story, but would I be the arsehole if I actually sent that in? Should I just let it go for the benefit of my family? And we'll start with RB1327 saying, and quoting, "I don't want to hurt my parents financially. I don't even really want to hurt my sister, but I don't want her to have the scholarship." And then says, "Not the arsehole, but you can't have all 3 of those things at the same time. Make your choice and the consequences will follow." And the Babes too says, "You would not be the arsehole, but understand this decision will likely come with consequences. It will impact your family financials. It's likely to get your sister kicked out. Most schools have pretty firm plagiarism policies and will absolutely impact your relationship with all of them. Your sister has poor ethics and she should learn, but you'll likely bear a piece of that cost. Good luck." And the Dagman says, "Not the arsehole, you are right, her plagiarism has stolen the scholarship from its rightful recipient. And things like that will usually come out publicly at some point. You can get it in front of it now and minimize the consequences, or your family can turn a blind eye and maybe become the next Lori Laughlin years down the road after the damage has all been done. It's messed up that your family has put you in this situation, but here you are, integrity versus family. Your choice." Feels like a Saw movie at the moment. Polyfuggery says she should decline the scholarship. She can say that on further reflection she has realised many of her words were heavily inspired by your works and that she cannot accept an award for it. She should absolutely not admit it is actually your work. You should absolutely not admit it is your work unless you are planning to publish this work. Doing either will mean she is thrown out of college and that no others will take her. She should take a gap year to do community college and get her prereqs out of the way while she saves money to attend the next year. ETA, if you wreck your family to prove a point, or she takes a merit award she didn't earn and your parents allow it." And that last comment there, it sounds like it could be like the best in a bad situation. Because OP doesn't want to break up his family, he doesn't really want to hurt his sister, but he doesn't want her to have this scholarship at the same time. So, you know, maybe that is the best way forward. I don't know. But let's move on to the next story. And this story is from Walk Down Aisle. Am I the arsehole for not stepping down from walking my daughter down the aisle? I was pretty young, 18, when I had this fling with an older woman. It lasted a few months, then we didn't see each other again. 3 years ago, I found out I had a 20-year-old daughter that I fathered with this woman. We only found out because she got matched with my brother on some DNA site he had an account on, and that's how the story trickled out. She never told me she got pregnant because she didn't want her husband to know about it. Apparently, he did when my daughter was 7 and was gone for a few years, then got back together when she was a teen, but they had a strained relationship. It got even more strained when she found out the truth and neither had told her. I've been seeing my daughter regularly ever since, and we've tried to build our own relationship as father and daughter. It's been an emotionally heavy but rewarding journey. My daughter has kept minimal contact with them both from what I know, and doesn't see either as often as she used to. She got engaged to her boyfriend of 5 years. It's meant to be a small backyard wedding, and my daughter has given me the honour of asking to walk her down the aisle. It was very overwhelming for me, and I said yes without hesitation. This has got him back to her mother and husband, neither which are happy about it, since my daughter doesn't speak to them much as they've contacted me. Since he's the one who raised her and such, it's rather disrespectful of me to accept a role that I've only been filling in for a few years, when all the hard work was already done. I wanted to say plenty in that moment and bit my tongue as best as I could. He's just hurt that she didn't bother to ask him, to be the one to give her away, and understands that they have their own history. And asking me, man to man, to do him this favour and bow out of doing it since he's the one in her life the most, and he understands it wasn't my fault, that I wasn't, but still. Seeing it from his perspective, yeah, I'm sure it's painful. My daughter doesn't want to consider it, so that's why stepping down on my own would be the next best thing, and I'd be doing something pretty disrespectful and selfish. That's rich coming from her, I know. Just to have a clear conscience on this, am I the arsehole? To be fair, it's no one's choice but your daughter's in the end. I mean, she's made the choice. You guys don't get to decide. She's made the choice and stick with it. It's pretty much that simple from my point of view. And Weskit pretty much says straight away, it's not your choice and it's not the other man's choice. It's her choice. And she asked you, not the arsehole. Yes, I said it's pretty much a simple one, I think. OK LK says, not the arsehole. If your daughter has low contact with her mother and a stepfather, there's a good reason for it. If you did bow out now, there's no guarantee that she would put whatever issues they have aside and ask him to walk her down the aisle. You will also be deprived of yet another father-daughter moment. You've already missed out on so much through no fault of your own. Don't miss out on this moment. If you do, this one will be your fault and you will regret it forever. And Crazy Trini says, do not step down. It's your daughter's choice, but you should talk to your daughter about doing something to include the only father she has known for a long time. Yes, they messed up by not telling her or you, but people are flawed, and he did raise her at the end of the day. Not the arsehole. And Dwight says, not the arsehole. If the bride wants you to do it, then do it. It's her wedding, not the parents. And one more from Anna Lira saying, not the arsehole. I get where he's coming from, but how would your daughter feel if you backed out? She'd likely feel rejected, and if she knew how it came about, she'd be even more pissed at her stepfather and would likely disinvite him and her mother altogether. This is not a winning strategy. He needs to accept her choice gracefully and learn to set his ego aside. And now we'll move on to another story. And this story is from Freakazoids. Am I the arsehole for refusing to be my friend's baby's godfather after I was given a legally binding contract to sign with requirements attached? Short story is my wife is from another country, and we met a couple in which the husband's wife is from the same country. We are great friends, almost 9 years now. Done a lot together. Best friends hands down. The husband has no family alive / that talks to him. The wife obviously only has the husband as her family here in the US. Well, the wife is pregnant with a baby girl. For sake of conversation, we will call her Jane. The husband asked me if I could be Jane's godfather. To note, they are Catholic. I was honoured. My friend was thrilled, and the next day he dropped off an envelope with some papers in it. After he left, I looked, and it was a legal contract that I needed to sign in order to be the godfather. Obviously, I thought it was a bit overboard, but gave it a read anyways. It had many things I must do as a godfather, such as I must go to every Catholic event in which Jane attends, such as christening, confession, confirmation, etc. Which I know are normal events for a Catholic child's life. Not a big deal. Then we get into ridiculous things. I have to consider becoming Catholic. I must give a gift of at least $500 for each of these events. And birthdays / Christmas, gifts must be cash only and over $250. Oh no, it gets worse. I'm expected to save at least $25,000 over Jane's 18 years and set it aside for Jane's future college tuition. Her parents will provide the rest. Seriously. The list goes on to include various things such as willing to cancel any plans I have if they needed me to watch Jane or if they go on vacation. Apparently Jane can't go. Many of the other things on the list were silly or not a big deal, like spending time with her once a week. I called my friend and said it was nothing personal, but there was no way that I would sign it. He got mad and said, "I'm the only family they got, and I should be thankful and honoured to be asked." I told him I was honoured, but the rules were extreme and ridiculous, especially when it comes to the money involved. He brought up that he knows I am a godfather to a niece, and I send her money, which I do. I give her $100 a year. In her country, that's a ton of money. I told him there's a big difference between $100 and tens of thousands over 18 years. He essentially told me he thought I was a good guy, but it was apparent I was selfish. He has since blocked my number and my email too. His wife has too. Mind you, his wife and mine talked nearly every day. Since he ended things, I shredded the papers he gave me and left them in a bag and put it in his mailbox for him, with telling him it was a shame he ruined a friendship over ridiculous demands. I told him I forgive him regardless. Lastly, I will note together this couple makes almost $200,000 a year. My wife and I make not even $35,000 a year. So, am I the arsehole for refusing to be Jane's godfather? Absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. It sounds like they want you to be a bank more than anything. I mean, they want you to save up that amount of money for a college tuition and then they're filling the rest. I mean, what the hell? All of it just sounds absolutely ridiculous and entitled, and you're totally right. And the fact that they wouldn't stand back and say, yeah, this does sound absolutely terrible. We are terrible people for putting this in there. Let's remove it. They don't. They double down and remove you from the email and basically friendship overall. Absolutely not the arsehole in this situation, and there is several edits to it, but we'll cover some comments then go to the edits. So Chew My Fudge says, "Lol, wait, are you serious? Not the arsehole. Sounds like they think that you're a sucker and want to use you as a free ATM machine. They want you to pony up at least $25,000 for future college fund. No, they just want you to pay for their kid while they can spend their own money on whatever they want." And that Tone Girl Jen says, "Not the arsehole. Putting $25,000 away for a child's college tuition that isn't even yours is a huge ask. I've never heard of a godparent giving so much money at every event, and they really shouldn't be surprised that you didn't go through with it. Most people wouldn't be able to handle that financial burden, and they're going to learn that the hard way. I'm sorry that this situation ruined your friendship, and hopefully they get to see how much of a selfish arsehole they are being." And Purple Mars Alien says, "Not the arsehole. You didn't refuse to become Jane's godfather. You refused to sign a crazy and completely unacceptable contract. That is not a normal part of becoming a godfather under any tradition." And we have one more comment before we go to the edit saying, Illustrious Pomelo says, "Not the arsehole. Holy cow. This may be a serious cultural difference, but how in the world are you supposed to save that amount of money for someone else's kid? That's just a crazy demand, and the whole thing is completely out of whack societal norms. Putting the shredded thing in a mailbox was an arsehole move on your part and certainly didn't help calm things down, but you're not being selfish, you're being realistic. For them to put financial demands on your family like this shows an incredible lack of awareness on their part. There is no way you could be her godfather, not unless you want your life dictated by this role." And then we're coming with the edit saying, "I should add that I don't know what the wife's involvement in the contract was. Many people that come from her country tend to be married to, let's say, wealthier men here, so they tend to live lavish lives and spend a lot on their kids. Some tend to also look down on small gifts. For example, if you don't have a Michael Kors purse, they judge you. So maybe the money thing was the wife's idea. If someone wants to spend a ton of money, that's up to them, but I don't want to spend a ton of money on a child that isn't even mine. At least not 25k. Holy crap, this blew up over a matter of hours. I try to respond as much as I can. To add some more info based on some responses, I honestly thought that the contract was some kind of prank at first. As I continued reading it, it became clear it was serious. Some still ask what country our wives from. The Philippines. To be clear, not every Filipina is the same, just with any country and its people. Though as stated, I don't know the wife's involvement in the contract. Shredding the papers and leaving it for the husband was probably not the best move, but it was a heat of the moment thing. I'd still be the godfather if they asked, without the rules, but whether or not they will ever talk to us again is up in the air. Though I don't know if I'd want to be friends with people who flip so quick, especially with such crazy demands. Thankfully they don't use Reddit, so I don't have to worry about them seeing this. And one final edit, I've learned a lot about how being a godparent works from the Catholic side of things. Very interesting. Despite my family being Catholic, well, not my parents, I never knew how it worked fully. Such as you're supposed to be Catholic in order to be a godparent. I do think it would be awkward to teach the child given I am not Catholic. I know my parents are godparents to some kids, all of which are Catholic. I think they just use it as a title out of niceness. In my mum's case, she's a godmother to her friend's daughter because the only other aunt she had was killed, so it just leaves my mum and the aunt. To note, not all Filipinos are like this. There are always bad people no matter where you are from, and I also don't know for sure if the wife had anything to do with the contract or not. And now let's move on to the next story. Our next story comes from No Imagination 5775. Am I the arsehole for never playing with my kids? Pretty self-explanatory. My wife and I have 4 kids from ages 2 to 9. We don't believe in playing with them. Our thought process is that we're not children, we are adults, and adults don't play with toys. We also truly believe that parents who are constantly involved in playtime ruin their kids' independence and imagination skills. We play games with them outside sometimes, and board games and stuff like hide and seek, we always participate in. But if we're at a park, we're not going to go on the jungle gym, we're not getting on the floor and playing with Barbie or Dinosaur or any of that. We're not pretending to be time travelers in the backyard. As a result, our kids can play alone or together with their toys, or use their imaginations and play together for hours without me or my wife. They are totally independent, and I also feel very mature emotionally and socially. In contrast, they have friends who just can't go to the park and play because they are being told what to do next by mum and dad. If one of these kids comes over, our kids will say, "Let's play with these toys," and they can't use their imaginations at all. They're so used to their mum controlling every aspect of playtime. Playing pirates or some adventure game outside in our treehouse? Forget it, they need mummy there to spell out everything. These types of parents are usually annoying for adults too. They think they're better parents, don't seem to care that little Jimmy can't even walk down a hallway without asking, "What should I do now?" Well, I had a conversation with my brother on the phone about this, and apparently he is the opposite kind of parent as we are. He said he wished our parents had played with us like he was doing with his kids. I can't fathom that and loved our childhood, and that connecting with his inner child was the best part of having kids. He did agree that our kids are more independent than his, but why would he want his kids to be independent at that age? He loves that they need to include him in playtime. I disagreed and explained why, and my brother said I was a selfish parent and a hands-off dad. He said he wasn't sure how me or my wife could ever truly be fulfilled as parents. He said we are basically being arseholes to our children. My wife overheard this part of the call and we are both feeling a little guilty. Maybe he's right and are too hands off. I look at them having a blast and playing together, coming up with the funnest stuff to pretend I could never think of. But maybe we should be getting on the floor and playing Tea Party or with Legos. Are we being arseholes to our kids? This one is an incredibly sad one to me, and I'm not judging anyone's parenting or anything, and I'm coming at it from my point of view, and I'm just so incredibly sad reading this. Whenever I play with nieces or nephews, I love getting involved with my inner child. I'm a pirate, I'm a spaceman, I'm a pirate spaceman, I'm whatever the hell I want to be, you know? Just last week I was playing with them in the garden and they play Roblox, and they played this game called Piggy where you have to go around and find keys to get out of the place, and I was the bad guy, of course. I was Piggy. I love playing that role. I was absolutely loving it. And I'm not going to judge this person's parenting or anything like that, but I feel kind of bad that they may be missing out on this, and just because they want them to sort of like have their own independence and mature at their own rate. I mean, surely you can do both. You can teach your children, you know, you can teach your children independence and play with them at the same time. But hey, this is one of those ones where I need the comments for some guidance. And Just the Bean says, "You're the arsehole, not for how you parent, but the way you judge others' parents for not taking your hands-off approach. You're not a universal gold standard for parenting. Just because this works for you doesn't make it the right way to parent. And it clearly doesn't give you license to look down your nose at every other parenting style. Different things work for different families and different kids. You have no right to judge, just like other parents have no right to judge you. The post contains significantly more information about you judging other parents than it does about your parenting style, by a pretty significant margin. You may want to consider why that is." An Asian in Germany says, "You're the arsehole for the holier-than-thou attitude you have, calling other parents annoying and their child non-imaginative. You don't sing or do art and craft with them. I do sit down to play with my child and run with her at the park, but it's very child-led. I don't tell her what to do. I let her lead the play. She's very innovative and imaginative, coming up with her own play or art ideas I'd never even thought of myself. I just want to enjoy these short years of her wanting to actually play with me before she grows up to have her own world. It's a great way to bond with them, and they learn a lot from what we model too. Also, it's a great opportunity to introduce new vocabulary or fun facts to them while they play. They're so young, there's still so much they don't know, and they learn like a sponge. Seems like such a wasted learning opportunity to just let them be. It's just unfathomable for me not wanting to get involved in their wonderful world of imagination and innocent happiness. Oh, why am I crying at that? PBC85 says, you're the arsehole, you can do both. Play with your kids and have mature/independent children. You've created a false dichotomy that says the two can't coexist, and your examples of children with no imagination because their parents do everything for them is not proof that you should never play with your kids. And KazTBH says, you're the arsehole, kids love playing with their parents, it's how they bond. Teach them independence, definitely, but it's pretty harsh to have an outright ban on playing with their toys with them. Your brother is right. Tipsy Tops 2 says, you're the arsehole for your weird all or nothing approach and your clearly judgmental tone in the middle of the post. Engaging in an imaginative play with your kids doesn't mean directing that play. You can play with your kids and encourage independence and imagination at the same time. This is a really weird rule to have. And Few Story says, you're the arsehole, you sound very judgmental on other people's parenting style. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and any other thoughts and opinions and verdicts on the rest of the stories in this video too. As always, I love to hear them, and it hugely helps this channel as well when you get involved. I consider us a community-based channel, and I absolutely love it when you do get involved. Thank you so much for being here today, and if you want to support the channel further, you absolutely can, but as always, never any pressure to do so by clicking that join button down below for YouTube, or clicking the link in the description for Patreon and joining up there. Once again guys, thank you for your love, your support and your time, and I will see you spicy so-and-so, in the next one. Take care guys, much love.